This I thought was kind of interesting. Kennedy, and by Kennedy, I mean RFK Jr., he had a quote election integrity plan for IDing voters. Um, I thought it was interesting just because, as this little stat I have here from NPR, not much of a stat, I think it's an estimate more than anything, says according to NPR, millions of Americans don't have a photo ID. I think that you could likely find a different stat depending on where you were looking at for your sources. I don't know who has the correct answer there. I'm sure that there's quite a few people in this country without a photo ID, whether it be 2 million, whether it be 10, whether it be 20. That would likely depend on the source that you're getting that from. But he did have an interesting take on this. I don't think I'm going to play the video actually because it was rather lengthy. It was about 6 minutes. I'll just kind of give you the gist of it here. Um, what he said is that when he becomes president, he wants to make it to where every single person in the United States, despite children, I would assume, is going to be given a free passport. I'm okay with this. I don't want some new form of federal ID being handed out. But if it's strictly going to be a passport, fine. I'm okay with that. If it does mean that they can in some way, shape, or form um make it to where our elections can be safer and nobody can have an excuse as to why they have to have mail-in ballots and that sort of thing, I'm all on board. Whether I mean, Kennedy's, let's be honest, he's not going to make it to office at this point. He's going to have to do far, far better. I do think that he's an interesting candidate. Um, Not my first pick, but certainly not my last either. So it's a good idea. I would like to see that sort of an idea passed on to whoever the winner of the election is going to be. Um, if it's somebody like Joe Biden, I don't think we can count on that one bit. But if it is someone else, who knows? We'll just have to see who ends up getting through the Republican primaries. It's really looking like it's going to be Trump as of now with a 60 plus point lead over every single other person running alongside with him. I did have a bit of a side note here in regards to the photo IDs. When I first saw it, my initial thought was, I can't believe that Kennedy is doing this just because there's so many Democrats that are against having a photo ID to vote with. They're against the idea of enforcing that law, I should say. But I thought it was cool how he then went on to explain how he thinks that the government should pay for it. That's a lot of money, but $65 a passport times, let's say, 230 million adults in the U.S. That is if they don't do every citizen, although they could. I doubt it. So 200 million people times 65, you're spending quite a few $billions. Although a lot of people already have passports, so it won't be that the total number of adults in the country. But nevertheless, hey, when you're spending $135 billion on Ukraine, surely we can spare a few free passports in this country to make sure that our elections are going to be fair. So I did think that was an interesting recommendation from RFK, and I'm interested to see what he ends up doing before this whole process is said and done.